OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas is low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I make that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang, and we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight, cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day, they still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. But mama, she bad but complain, cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane, and go get this money with Gigi. I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
I get the bag with the gang, taking that Zach to the bank. Henny be all in my drink. You niggas is stupid, you think that should change? You not even hot in your gang. Ain't nothing even hot about your gang. You niggas be lying about same. Be posting them pictures of guns for the fame. Niggas just look at me different now. Say that's your man, but he a clown. But fuck around with the fuck arounds. Little nigga, you should cut it out. Me and my niggas take different routes. Punch a bitch nigga all in his mouth. Hold up my nigga, we different now. I need a Robert, this is my style. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I get a bitch today, she probably a foreign model. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I'm with my gang today, tomorrow never promise.
OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang, gang, gang.
I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy. I've got the look that drives the girls, while I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I make them hot, I make them shiver. Things get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk, they hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. That might flip though. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast, and as always, folks, I am in airplane mode. All right, folks, we've got a great one lined up for you. Let's go ahead and jump into it. I hope you've had a good day, even if you've had a long one. It's time to kick back and link up with the gang. Anyway, folks, so grab yourself something refreshing, hopefully something else to blow on, if you know what I'm talking about. Alrighty, gang, please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours who flied for our sins forever and ever. You may drink. All right, gang, and now for our communion song. This one comes to us from Decatur City Church. It's called Thank You for Being a Friend.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. Yeah. I'm not ashamed to say, yeah. I hope it always stays this way. Head is off. Won't you stand up and take a bow? Hey, and if you throw a party and invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. Yeah, thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you for being a friend. I'm not ashamed to say, yeah, I hope it all will stay this way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take a bow? Yeah. If you throw a party and invited everyone new, you would see the biggest gift would be.
All right, I got a YouTube pump first.
Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you. Hey, thank you for being a friend. Yeah. Thank you for being a friend.
I got Chris Peacock section. Let's go.
Thank you for being
All right, gang. Let's get one more. Get all the way into the groove. This one comes to us from OG Roddy. It's called the I Love You mix. Let's go.
2 fucking bars, nigga. Whoa. Is that?
And the lovely Stephanie Helms is third. Appreciate you.
They know my campaign. Now they running up on Roddy like it's second place. They wanna know if I'm a prop or I'm the real plane. Landed in Austin and I even brought my own strain. Gang, yeah, fuck is they talking about? Link up with Freddie, got it booming cause it's Mo South. Then we hit the spot, my OG had it packed out. Getting love in every city, what it's all about. Facts, yeah, know when I'm back home. At the blueprint eating chicken with some bad Johns. And they bad, but not like the one that's at home. And she bad, but not like them kids we have, Lord, yeah. I'm still up in my mode. Hit my connect, he make the goals. I run the give and go. Just ask the ones who fucking with me if you didn't know. They say the plane was always on it and he always gone. I love you. I want you. You're the one that I live for. I can't take it anymore. But I love you. I need you. What can I do to make you see? You're the only one for me. I told Jay I'ma just stick to the code. He wished me well and told me how he been noticing growth. Told all my niggas down on Serato, let's get this dough. Figure of speech, I'm just saying my niggas gotta glow. Yeah, I thought I changed up, but in fact I just got better at the same stuff. Even when I was a minor, I was major. Independent, I remember how they played us. Yeah, you see it's funny though. See how everything changed, getting money, bro. Seen them even throwing shade when it's sunny, though. On the plane, I ain't even in a lane, though. Yeah, but I still be on the road. Head to toe on all my merch, I'm smoking at the shit. And they booking Henny too, I gotta bring my bro. Wonder if and when I stop, I tell them never know. I love you. I want you. You're the one that I live for. I can't take it anymore, but I love you. I need
Slug is
you.
in the house. Captain Dash Mike is here. Chris.
You're the only one for me.
Appreciate all y'all.
I love you. I miss you. I need you in my life. Can't you see what you mean to me? Baby, come hold me tight. I miss you. Wanna kiss you every time I see your face. Can't you see that you're the one?
All right, let's do this. Just for a flash, then we're gonna do some more Uncle Bobby style Autobots. Transform. And then hang on, up. Autobots transform. And then we roll on out. All right, gang, check it out. Here's the thing. In case you have been living under an atheist YouTube rock and you have not heard, it is somehow oddly plausible that tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. you want to be over on Hive Science to watch myself along with Bree and fucking Aron Ra, gang. I don't know how it happened. I don't have pull like that. I don't have stroke like that. It's just every once in a while, being a champions have championship responsibilities. You're just doing, laying around doing champion shit. And then you just get the call. Oh yeah, Jay, by the way, do you want to jump in on this panel with Aron Ra real quick and review this fucked up ass debate between James Tour and Professor Dave? Yeah. I'm available to do that. Yeah, I'm available. That's how that goes, gang. So look, that's where you need to be, you know, like the link. Look, I already hooked you up. I put the link down in the description, right in the section where you're used to finding all the links of the mods and the fucking. You know, matter of fact, you need to subscribe to fucking everybody that's down there. Let's go through the list real quick. Make sure we just get a quick plug for all of the people that's down there. My one black friend. How do you watch Hot Program every week and you're not subscribed to my one black friend's channel? I'm sorry, you earned it. All right, so look, Gin and Truth on YouTube. Y'all already know. If you're not subscribed to Uncle Bobby's channel, don't tell me. Just subscribe to Uncle Bobby's channel, because if you tell me, I'm going to take it very personally, think you're a terrible person. Cameron Bennett, obviously you need to get your fitness game on. There's a personal fucking secular fucking fitness guru right there available for you. All your dumbass has to do is click the goddamn link. You got the main man Nitty, recently deconverted, bringing you all the dirt and the lowdown on the cult, plus a little bit of a counter apologetics, plus some fantastic DJing, a little bit of everything else. A man of mystery, quite frankly. We got Look at the Trees, throwing down on these motherfucking Pastor Blaster episodes that are literally like fucking, they're kind of like Uncle Bobby style. Like, we're just gonna rip straight into these preachers, tear them a new one real quick. Hilarious. They're just the best. Like, I don't know what to keep telling you. Freaking Maya Atkinson. Are you really not subscribed to Maya Atkinson? That's racist and sexist put together. I'm just fucking with you. But seriously, you need to subscribe to Maya Atkinson. It's not a whole lot of queens out here doing big things. Maya's one of them. So go subscribe to Maya Atkinson and stop being an idiot. Yo, literally, Maya's Sunday content is some of the most hilarious shit. It's Bad Science Sunday with fucking Dr. Tapioca, the lovely Stephanie Helms. And like, honestly, like, people are just in tears, dying, laughing. And it's like the perfect palate cleanser before you get that real bad case of the Mondays you know you got coming your way. And of course, that brings us to Stephanie Helms herself. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I literally know Stephanie because I found her channel and I was like, yo, this shit is incredible. Where's Stephanie Helms? Like, we need to hunt down Stephanie Helms right now so we can get Stephanie Helms up in our friendship group. So, like, again, if you're not subscribed to Stephanie Helms, you kind of earned it. You earned it. I know. It was kind of aggressive for me to give you the finger, but you did deserve it. All right. And finally, that brings us on to the lovely Bree, who is hosting the event tomorrow. Tomorrow night, when this thing happens, your fucking ass needs to be in a seat. Your motherfucking eyeballs, not one of them, but both of them, both eyeballs, this one and that one, need to be on the screen watching this fucking event and letting Aron know that you are enjoying seeing him in this fucking crew, all up in our community with fucking Bree and me having a good old time. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen tomorrow night? So you need to be there. All right, now here's the fucking bonus. For those of you that know what time it is, are trying to be part of this thing, and are trying to like get your little just trying to add a little bit of your seasoning into the fucking sauce, okay? What you need to do is get your monkey ass and gather, because obviously the NBA playoffs aren't tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this little stream here right quick, right? You know what I'm saying? We're going to do what we do real quick, knock this show out, right? Then we're going to go in the gather, and we're going to be preparing for the fucking debate, because we got to review the debate before we link up with them and review the debate. But look, that's how it works. This is your opportunity to see how YouTube works behind the scenes. What really goes on. And honestly, it's not just going to be like me sitting here like this, like pausing the tape, writing down some notes. No, we're going to be in gather so we can have a fucking discussion. We can fucking talk about it. We can bounce our ideas off of each other. All right, so you got to click the link that's pinned in gather like it is fucking every stream. I'm not going to give up on you, YouTube losers. I do believe in you. I believe you can click that link. You can make an avatar. You can put your name in the thing. You can figure out your camera and your microphone, or just turn them off. You don't even have to turn them on, and you can get your monkey. I honestly believe you're capable of figuring that out. All right, gang. So now let's get into what we're going to be talking about today. First off, we're going to be revisiting Sarah Martin. We heard Sarah Martin's deconversion story. So you know how YouTube works. Uncle Bobby has broken down how YouTube works frequently enough by now that you should completely understand the algorithm, because you know Uncle Bobby breaks down the algorithm perfectly, basically. So what happens is you watch a couple of things, right? And then YouTube catches your rhythm, right? And then YouTube just starts feeding you more of that stuff, right? So some new Sarah Martin popped up, so we're going to respond to that. Now you might be thinking, Jay, what is she going to talk about in this? I don't know. Do you know what reaction means? It means I watch something and then I respond to it. So I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. We're going to do that. And then we're going to wrap on up this video with part 3 of, oh my goodness, part 3 of the real face of black conservatism. And gang, it has just been tearing down the heroes of black culture by revealing that they're really just cogs in the fucking white supremacist capitalist machine meant to suppress black people. And I think this episode's gonna touch on Jay-Z. I used to be I'm a really big fan. I'm a really big fan. So you know what I'm gonna have to say? You know what? It happens. It happens. Things happen, man. Sometimes your heroes gotta get burnt down, man. It is what it is. It is what it is. All right, so let's go ahead and take on off on today's episode, gang. And we're gonna start right here with something about reading the Bible from Sarah Martin.
This is social anxiety at its finest. I now have 2,000 YouTube subscribers. I didn't expect to be talking to this many people. Okay. Hello YouTube, my name is Sarah, and if you are new around here, welcome. I make videos talking about
Hi, my name's Sarah, and I'm a
YouTubeaholic. What it was like to deconstruct my evangelical Christian faith. If that is a topic that is relevant to you, again, welcome. I hope you find the content of this video helpful. Speaking of the content of this video, today... Yeah, Gather has an app. The app's pretty cool. I use the app. You know, it's still early, right? I feel like Gather's a growing platform, and we're part of that growth. So, you know, I always tell people, be patient with Gather, be patient with yourself, and be patient with each other, and we make it work. And if you notice something or you have an issue with something, like with the app, you can just use the browser and vice versa. And let us know, because somebody will eventually let me know. And I report it to Gather, and they're very responsive, right? So they're actively developing it. And you'll get a lot of updates, and that's why. It's like users report things that are problems with our experience. They get on it. They release an update, and then they're like, "Hey, we released an update." So I give them credit for that, and I think that's kind of fun. But yeah, I just want people to be aware of that. About some of the advice I received on my video breaking down what my deconstruction journey looked like. If you haven't seen that video, you can click above to go check that video out. So on that video, I got a lot of comments. At this point in time, it's like over 4,000, but I got a lot of advice from a lot of people about what I should have done or what I should do. But one of the most common pieces of advice that I got, especially from Christians, was some version of you just need to read the Bible and seek God. That is the solution to my problem. Today I want to just talk through a little bit why that is actually really terrible advice to give to someone who is questioning their beliefs in Christianity.
All right, pause the tape. There's a whole lot I hope she gets into in this, but it's just funny for me because one of the things that I think a lot of us are aware of is a lot of people say that reading the Bible was the reason they deconverted to begin with. So, you know, I never felt like that was it for me, but I do hear that that's I think usually like the number one. It's usually like one of the top 1 or 2 reasons reported as to why people do it. So, oh, they said the stream's not audible and let me fix that.
So let's jump right in. What I think is really funny
All right,
about
that should be better. Sorry, Steph.
the whole concept of you just need to read the Bible.
So, all right, Steph, she just queued it up, but she's basically just talking about how when she deconverted, Christians told her she just needed to read the Bible and seek God. And so the video is about why telling people to just read the Bible and seek God is not good advice.
You need to read it for yourself, and you'll come to the knowledge of the truth. What's really funny is that most people who deconstruct like me read the Bible a lot. My morning routine for 5 years was to read the Bible every day. I would read a chapter of the Bible.
Yeah, and the people who say this to you haven't.
A chapter of Gospels or a chapter of one of the other letters in the New Testament. And then I would end in a prayer time. And I did that faithfully every single day for years. So it's really funny to me when people say, you need to read the Bible. I have read the Bible. I loved reading the Bible for a very, very long time. And I know I'm not alone in this. There are so many people who end up reevaluating their Christian faith who faithfully read the Bible too.
All right, gang, I'm going to go ahead and put my cards on the table right now real quick for you so you understand where I'm coming from. I am now under the impression, and I'm just keeping it real, like maybe I'm just caught up in my feels or whatever, but when somebody now tells me they're an atheist, particularly a former Christian who's now an atheist, I immediately assume they were a better Christian. Like that is atheism is the PhD of Christianity. I mean, I'm serious because I obviously don't know a person's story, right? But if all I know about them is that they're an atheist and they used to be a Christian, for me, I just think it's much more probable that they actually read the Bible. I think it's much more probable that they were very seriously or heavily involved in the church, like they were really about that life. Because again, you know, part of it was they were really into it. They were really paying the cost. It was really serious for them. Like it wasn't something easily accepted or dismissed because it came with so much for them. I also, expect that that they hold the quote unquote Christian values more seriously, right? Because they'll remember, it was supposed to be all about loving your neighbor and making the world a better place and serving people that are less fortunate than you, blase glavinoids. And then they'll realize that like Christians aren't really doing that, and they'll struggle with that, right? Or they'll notice that it's Christians that happen to be discriminating against particular marginalized groups, and they'll be like, I don't really jive with that because it doesn't really, I can't really, get with that, right? So I'm dead ass. Like when somebody tells me they're an ex-Christian and they're now an atheist, I was like, oh, you were about your Christianity. Oh, you was about that life like me, huh? And it's weird. And now when you're like 50 something and you're still a Christian, I'm like, you don't take this seriously. You don't understand what you're talking about. Sorry, that's just how I see it. And of course, from there, people add more information and the picture goes where it goes.
That's not the issue. The issue isn't that we haven't read the Bible. In fact, the opposite is true. We have read the Bible. And for a lot of us, it was the most important book in our lives, which is what makes it even more difficult. The fact that
or you had to choose between science and your imaginary friend. That's a good one, Chris.
That we believed about it. That's what makes it so, honestly, traumatic. There's a quote on Instagram that I found that I love by Olive Poetry that said, the people who are the most damaged by religion are the ones who believe it most sincerely. I think
Well, boom.
that is such a
She's good at
true
saying shit
statement.
concisely.
I believe the Bible, and I read it for myself, and I accepted it as truth. And to walk away from it was so difficult and was so disorienting for me because I believed it so sincerely. The second thing wrong with this piece of advice to just read the Bible and seek God is, what does that even mean? I guarantee that if I was able to get everybody in a Zoom call, because we can't gather in the same rooms right now, and ask for what that looks like so that I can practice it and implement that advice, guaranteed there would be answers all over the place. I guarantee you, nobody could really come to a conclusive agreement on what that looks like. That's why we have thousands and thousands of Christian denominations, because everyone interprets the Bible different. Everybody reads it different. It's not as simple as just read it for yourself. You'll come to the truth. I'll come to my interpretation of it. Like, yeah, maybe there's some universal things we could agree on about what it means, but I'm also bringing in my own background, my own life experiences, my own reasoning capabilities. Like, that, it just doesn't work to say, just read this book and you will be on your way to discovering the truth. Another thing that a lot...
All right. I think it's a deflection to me, right? It's a complete defect. A person might as well say, I have no fucking idea what to say to you. You're going to have to go work that out on your own. To me, that's what they're really saying. They're just saying, go Christian it out. You know, you and God, everybody has their, things with God, right? And you just gotta go God it out, You get into His word, and you put it all on Him. You put your trust in Him, and I think that's kind of the genuine advice, kind of like, in a way, right? Because it's all about His word, in a sense, is bullshit. But it's the identity you're supposed to cling to. And in a sense, here's what it is. Like, in a real sense, I think it's meant under the assumption that you ultimately won't read His word. Or at least not in any, like, real meaningful way. I think it's meant to really be like, are you all about Him or not? Okay? Because if you're all about Him, then, it's all about His word. We trust in His holy word, right? It's more lean on your Christian identity through your relationship with Him, which you're really supposed to, like, use His word to feel close to Him, because that's all they've got, right? Is the book. And then I think the assumption is you really want to just reinforce your identity to a point that literally reading His word is kind of redundant, right? Like, I got to a point, and I think a lot of Christians, or probably most Christians, are, where if the Bible is the thing that's supposed to be used to bring people into the faith, instruct people in the faith, teach the people the culture, the traditions, whatever it is, I mean, are you really supposed to spend, like what are you supposed to do after you're like 10, 15, 30, 50, 60 years into that walk, right? Like, are you really supposed to be like, I don't quite know how to Christian in most situations. I've really got to make sure I've got my Bible on hand at all times, right? Like, no, it's more a thing. I think you're supposed to feel like you don't need to be this serious about, because, you just need to focus on your walk with Jesus, and then that leads you to just do just enough Bible reading that you've feel like you're seeking him and then put it to the side. I don't know. It's just weird. I'm trying to point out it's one of those Christianese tricks, man. It's one of those Christianese fucking word games that literally doesn't mean what the words say in English.
A lot of people pointed out in the comments is that I seem to have like a really faulty view of God and a really faulty understanding of who he is, which I agree. It was a really sucky view of God. However, where do those come from?
Hey, what's up, Derek? Man, yeah, they all suffer from some weird stuff, man. Yeah, I don't even know.
Pull those out of a hat. I read the Bible for myself,
Honestly.
yes. And I was influenced by other things too, like what I heard at church, what I read in books by Christian authors. Where are they getting those ideas from? The Bible. And in a lot of cases, they were explaining to me, whether it was my pastor at church or an author in a book, of how the scriptures were in line with what they were teaching. So I didn't just blindly adopt this weird theology or this theology that doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, looking back on it now that I'm distanced from it, yeah, that view of God was really messed up. But it was based on the Bible. You could defend that view using scripture. When I realized that my view of God was really messed up and walked away from it, I had a really difficult time trying to figure out, okay, if that was wrong, then how do I come to the right view of who God is and what the Bible says? What I've
here's the thing that's fucked up. It's like, in a sense, I'm kind of with them, right? Like, we're like, yo, man, hey, are you having some doubt? Hey, you having some doubt about your faith? Hey, that's really understandable. You know what, though? Like, it feels so underhanded to say this as an atheist, right? But we should be like, hey, man, hey, this is gonna sound weird coming from an atheist, but I think you ought to seek God, you know? I hear you, brother, your sister, or whoever, you're struggling,
It's too terrifying.
seek God and read the Bible. It's so fucked up because I'm only about it because I'm like, this is the fastest way to deconversion. Oh, we already got that seed of doubt in this person. Oh, hell yeah. Let's just kick this thing on in the overdrive. Yeah, get up in that word of God right there. Yeah. You know what I suggest? I suggest you start from the beginning and read to the end. Yeah, that's just the way I'd go. You start from the beginning and you read to the end. All right, so like I am with the Christians. You know what, Christians, from now on, we're gonna hold hands and walk across the bridge of harmony on this one, because we can totally agree. Everybody that is involved in Christianity should be reading the entire Bible. You start at the beginning and you read through to the end. But obviously, the thing I really wanted to say about the Christians saying this, because when I say it, I genuinely mean it. Like, go read your Bible or something. Where's my sounds, man? Come on, man. Go read your Bible or something. It's somewhere. I'm gonna go find. God damn it! All right, but when the Christians say this, again, like I said, first off, they don't really mean go read your Bible, and that's incredibly problematic. But on top of that, if you actually do read your Bible and then you start to doubt or you convert or you start to bring stuff up on them, there won't be any accountability, right? In other words, the same people who told you to read your Bible will be quite pissed off if you start to come to them with problems in the Bible, right? And it brings you back right to where you started, right? Which is, you were somebody who looked into these things, probably took them seriously, started having issues, started investigating these issues. They're probably someone who's just doubles down on being all about the life. And so, again, like that's where you see the card pulled, right? That's where you get back to what I was saying before about they didn't really mean go read your Bible, right? Because normally if you know, you if I give you some advice, I'm like, yo man, like don't, you know, treat your lawn like this, treat your lawn this other way instead, and you go and do it, and then it doesn't work out, you're gonna come back to me like, yeah, I don't know if that works. Like that was kind of like you told me to do this thing, and like I tried it, and I don't know, my results really weren't that good. And we're gonna have that conversation, right? But it kind of reveals that, again, like I said, they're basically telling you they don't know what to tell you and go figure it out on your own. And please don't bring this up again ever.
What I've realized is that you can't. And I've really stopped believing that there is this one absolute view of God that's right, because I don't believe that there's a way to prove what that view is. Again, why do we have thousands of Christian denominations? Because we can't all agree on how to read Scripture, how to interpret it, who God is, those sorts of things. Another reason why I just think this advice to read the Bible and seek God is funny is because for as many comments as I saw giving this advice and people trying to be helpful in giving this advice, there were also so many comments from people that also have walked away from their faith that said, what did it for me was I tried reading the Bible. Like, that reading the Bible is what made them walk away.
There you go.
Reading the Bible and seeking God. And I know that there are going to be people,
Sarah, I got to tell you, you switched teams.
Again, argue.
Sarah, that's why we don't. Shh. You're getting a lot of views. Shh. The Christians are going to hear you. Shh. Don't go telling them why this is bad advice. You know, she's new to this deconversion thing. Shh. You're on team atheist now, all right? We can't be giving away our best secrets like this. Christians, just disregard everything she is saying. Please go read your Bible. That is the best way to make sure you and Jesus stay hella tight. I promise.
Didn't do it right. You didn't read it right. You didn't really want to know who God was or who God is. And it's going to be the same issue. Like, you just did it wrong, basically. And that's just not
what
true.
She said.
There are so many...
Can we just talk about the fact that the Backstreet Boys made an entire song out of that? Like they that's what she said. Like that, we let an entire boy band like make a. Let's just continue on.
People that end up deconstructing, deconverting, because they so desperately wanted to know God. They so desperately wanted these beliefs that they held to be true, and in trying to prove that to themselves and trying to find that closeness with God, that realness with God, and trying to understand Scripture, it ended up serving as another stage in like things coming apart. That genuinely happens for a lot of us. That's why I really...
Gang, telling someone with doubt to read the Bible is like telling someone who just fucking wrecked their car around a pole because they drank a pint and then started driving that this has been stressful and they really might need a drink. Like, how do you think we got ourselves in this situation to begin with? They're so clueless.
Go read your Bible or something.
There it is, YouTube punk. There it is. Thank you so much. You know the prop master comes through to make sure the fucking show is on point. God damn it.
I don't agree with this advice that it's guaranteed to be the solution to people who are questioning.
So much
gaslighting. For some people,
gaslighting.
it is the opposite. It contributes to them continuing to doubt and question and eventually maybe walk away. Like I said at the start of this video, I was someone who read my Bible every day and had alone time with God every day. That was very real to me. If that alone is all I need to do to come back to Jesus or become a Christian again or find the truth or have my eyes open to the truth, then I never should have gone through deconstruction to begin with. If all of that was fine and well and I was doing that wholeheartedly, then I shouldn't be here making videos talking about my experience of questioning everything and ultimately deciding not to call myself a Christian anymore. And it's not just me, like that should be the case of so many of us who deconstruct. And here we are. We are some of the most devoted and genuine followers of Jesus. And yet, in spite of our love of the Bible and study of it and frequent reading of it, and even having a personal relationship with God where he does feel close, it doesn't guarantee that you won't ultimately end up questioning stuff.
Gang, it is the cruelty of it all. This world is a cruel, cruel place. And, you know, I honestly think it's because of the seriousness, at least for a lot of us, right? It is because of that next level commitment to your faith where, like she's talking about, you had the personal relationship, you were serious about the word. For a lot of us, you were serving the church. For some of us, like myself, even like full time in ministry, like, so when somebody tells you you weren't a real Christian, when you're like, what, do you not, what, we're gonna have to talk about, like, like it's just crazy. It's just crazy. You're like, what do you talk? Like you're talking to church builders. What do you mean we're not serious? Like I don't understand. Like it's wild, right? Next level gaslighting, y'all. But here's the thing that I'm really noticing when Christians feel that challenge, they get that white knuckle, double down, hold on tight, defend their participation in the faith at all cost. And I wonder if we just have to find our own ways to validate each other as former believers. I think I've heard Derek maybe talk about it as extending us to fellowship. Like it would be great if Christians extended us the fellowship of acknowledging the sincerity of our former belief. But there really is a lot at stake for them there to where they can't. Because I think if they acknowledge the sincerity of our belief, then somewhere in there's an awareness that it opens the door to acknowledging the sincerity of our doubt. And I hate to say this, a lot of them know that they might be punching up with regard to experience or understanding of Christianity. Like, it's kind of like the way you might see, I don't know, I'm kind of an academic, so I'll stick with academia, like a classroom or a workplace like that, right? Like, people know sort of who the high performance people are, who the real knowledgeable people are, who's really got a lot of expertise in a particular area versus who doesn't, right? Even if it's just, a group in which everybody essentially, let's say, has the same job, right? But they just know each other, right? And so people know who knows what about what, right? And so these people in your life who literally know that you have studied the word, or that you are able to even converse with them as someone who's much more aware of things in the Bible than they are, then they kind of know, right? They know you're going to beat them at Bible bingo, essentially, or whatever the fuck, right? And then they know how sincerely devoted you were or whatever. So they've got to hold out for some level of you're doing it wrong. Because I do think there's a lot of insecurity there. And so, yeah, we may be on our own, even though I'm like y'all, I just, for some reason, I can't help but hold out faith for that, because somehow, as a former Christian, it feels like I want that validation from Christians, even though I'm probably just not going to get it.
And going through deconstruction. The heart of my message and why I make these YouTube videos remains. Please, 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 just listen to people's stories. No hidden agendas, no ulterior
Cruising,
motives
sleeping
to
in
try
my
to
Tesla. That sounds
convince
fun.
them to come back to the light. Just listen to people's stories. Just affirm what they've gone through is real.
They just like wake up in your driveway and shit. That's pretty cool.
If you can personally understand it or personally relate, just to validate that what someone has gone through is real means everything. I don't expect my close friend who is still very much a follower of Jesus, still has a very close relationship with him, to get what it's been like for me to lose that sort of faith that we both used to have. I don't expect her to understand it, but it's meant the world to me that she's taken it seriously, and she accepts me for who I am, and she validates that experience and how difficult it's been and who I am now. I truly believe that compassion can change the world, and we are all capable of making the world a better place, even just for one other person.
All right, gang. Thought you did a fantastic job with that. Kind of a new content creator to me. Good stuff. I don't know. Like y'all know me. I think what it is I like to find stuff that I have a soft spot for. You know, make me think about being more compassionate, more empathetic, more like Derek or Stephanie or Lena, one of these wonderfully, beautifully nice people that everybody just loves to stay. But then I'm like, I just want to smash people over the head with steel chairs, super kick people in the face, stomp on their faces, and steal their girlfriends. Like, I don't. What do you want me to tell you? What do you want me to say? I don't know. I don't know. There's a really good person in there somewhere hiding inside me, y'all, and I try to get inspired to like bring it out, but then my heel bad guy ways just take over, and I just want to destroy everything. I'm just trying to learn how to accept me for me, you know? You know, that's what I'm working on. I'm working on radical self-acceptance. All right, gang, it's time for the main event of the evening. We are gonna make this shit hurt, gang. The idea of this series is that so you and I and anybody who catches this later can become better at anti-racism by recognizing the beneath the surface coonery. You know, it's obvious to know that some of these people are coons, like the Candace Owens and the Jesse Lee Petersons or the Officer Tatums, or you know what I mean, like all these Christians doing the tap dance for Master's butter biscuits. You know, it's obvious to recognize those fools, but some of these other, but you got to remember too, like there's a couple things going on. Number one, like they're kind of obvious for most of us, and number two, a lot of people don't really pay attention to them necessarily within the black community, whatever that means to whoever's trying to assess what's going on with the black people in their life, right? So you got to remember they're mostly explicit agents of like right-wing machinery that most of us are tuned out to anyway, right? So if I talk about the influence that like Candace Owens has on people in my family, like there is none, right? But when you talk about black people who are more accepted in mainstream media and the mainstream of black culture, usually because of their celebrity status and whatever gives them that platform, or whatever their particular image happens to be. Those are the people who are potentially even more problematic, because people are not aware of how they sometimes are carrying water for the same problematic institutional forces as the out and out quote unquote red pill conservatives. So that's why this series has been so cool, because it's been really difficult for me as a black man who's trying to really actually understand what it means to be progressive and liberal and leftist, because I consider myself all of those things, and more importantly, woke, and trying to stay woke and trying to be anti-racist as fuck, and also understanding that, damn, y'all, like, I'm an evolutionary biologist and I'm trying to become a college professor, right? So I'm trying to be a part of that liberalizing mission of institutions of higher education, right? And so you're hanging on the knife's edge, because the truth is there's a lot of privilege and exceptionalism wrapped up in these institutions, which themselves are usually subject to inherently conservative financial pressures and obligations. But at the same time, there's at least supposed to be enough space to carve out academic integrity and freedom in a way that will allow you to participate in educating people. And it's actually really important to be aware of these issues, especially in biology, because biology is misused so often to reinforce so many of these messages. So I don't know, I kind of just take all that seriously. Like, I see it as part of like, your professional training is like, you you got to really know what you're stepping into as part of the educational workforce. All right, so let's go ahead and jump up into this shit, y'all, and take off on the main event. Here we go, part 3. Oh, this is gonna hurt. I don't even want to press play. Hang on, gang. Let's just hit the bong. This is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt, man. When you know somebody's about to dig into people you like, your heroes and the people you big fan of, it's gonna be painful. It's gonna be painful. Oh my goodness, mode, y'all. Oh my goodness. Cheers, gang. All right, here we go.
The power structure as a whole. We have to confront the false reality and promises of black capitalism. Despite the fact that it looks so good and promises so much, it's time to let this myth die.
For me, it was like actionable item. What are we gonna do with it? Like, everyone heard, and we hear what you're saying, and everybody know I agree with what you're saying. So what are we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So reach millions and millions of people, and
we need a New Testament for the internet age. All right, hang on. Let's hear this message, though.
Reach millions and millions. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone heard, and we hear what you're saying, and everybody know I agree with what you're saying. So what are we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So reach millions and millions of people, or we get stuck on Colin not having a job.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
I make good money on YouTube. It's not long money. There's no generational wealth being generated, but I'm probably making about as much as a well-paid doctor or lawyer at this point. I also have lots of taxes, production costs, and out-of-pocket health care, etc. Still, it's enough that my wife no longer works and I can pay for all the activities and summer camps I want for my kids, and I can have a good work-life balance, which may not have been the case if I were an actual high-end doctor or lawyer or something. I am very lucky in this regard because this is not the reality for most Americans, let alone Black Americans. And for the most part, I think this is what most Black people want. If you actually talk to working class and even educated Black people, they're not looking to be millionaires and billionaires. They want to take care of their kids, a job that doesn't dehumanize them or break their backs, and enough money to go on a vacation or pay for bottle service every once in a while. But even that simple outcome is hard to get these days. There's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with this. Pursuing financial security or ethical entrepreneurship in the eyes of socialism is perfectly fine, especially since none of us can really control the current economic systems that we live under. I plan to make as much money as possible ethically without exploiting people or exploiting systems that harm people. Please buy a shirt, join my Patreon, come through with a super chat. This money will feed my family, pay for better content, as well as a video game or a vacation in the future. But here's what joining my Patreon won't do. It will not contribute to direct revolutionary action. I will not overthrow the state. It will not directly reduce police brutality or raise reading levels in Black.
Also, gang, just shout out real quick if y'all want to support the channel. You already know, number one, if you want to support the community, help us keep our gather capacity up, get access to the exclusive content, then please do join the Ko-Fi. The link's down in the description. Says, become a member. That money, actually, so people know, does not go to me directly. It goes into a separate account that's used to support Gather and our subscription services and stuff, and for the most part I don't touch it, and unless there's a higher level where you can include a few bucks for me, but even that I just keep in the same account. If you hit one of the Patreon or the PayPal or the PayPal or the Venmo or whatever, those actually go to me. If you do a tip or whatever through Streamlabs, that actually comes to me. So definitely appreciate all the support. All right. And thanks to y'all that help us support our gather capacity. I'm super, super happy. And I just want people to know what the difference is so that they understand what their money's going towards.
Black communities. If you give me money, that money will first and foremost help me. Vicariously, it'll help me make content that is maybe more meaningful so I can do videos about activist movements or issues with Black boys. But please believe I will also make videos like the Nicki Minaj video or videos about stupid TikToks. I'm putting this out here for a few reasons. One, I feel like I need to dispel the myth that being a socialist or leftist is about taking a vow of poverty and being anti-money. That's the propaganda they give people about this concept. I want to resist the temptation to attach social progress to consumption or branding or influencer culture, or that one or a few Black people getting money is somehow revolutionary, and more specifically to kill this idea that Black commerce and business is the key to Black liberation. The fact that a few Black people are doing well is dope. But no matter what Jay-Z tells you, another Black billionaire is not going to move the needle for Black people as a whole.
What's better than one billionaire? Two. Especially the truth.
If any rich Negro should be seen as an example of how Black wealth and Black capitalism is meant to help Black people, it would be Jay-Z. He's regularly sought to use his wealth to help Black folks. He's reached out and reached back to teach other Black folks the game of how to become wealthy. He's had so many bars about it, in fact. It's one of his favorite things to rap about these days. He's bailed out Black Lives Matter protesters and donated money to good causes on the regular. He is the patriot saint and poster child for black capitalism and black economic freedom. He, along with guys like Charlamagne the God and Killer Mike and many others, promote the idea that the best and only way for black people to truly be free is through economic viability in a capitalist society. What you're supposed to do, according to Jay-Z and Killer Mike and T.I. and all of them, is go out there and get that money so you can buy back the block, just like Jay-Z did with the Marcy Projects.
Yo, FD, what's up? Just editing the video. He didn't do that.
Okay, so what did he do?
He used the money to buy the Nets, but only about like 1/15% of the Nets. Yeah. So that comes to about 0.067%. So again, a 15%. So I mean,
he bought a fraction of the Nets. Damn, it's almost as if buying up the block wouldn't be a very good investment for a capitalist to make, black or otherwise. You've probably heard the phrase that black people have $1 trillion of buying power, and this idea that if we could just get our minds right, stop buying Jordans and acrylic nails or whatever, that we could command the humanity and respect that we are currently denied through sheer force of that buying power and its ability to empower us economically as a community. However, that $1 trillion figure and this idea that Jewish and Asian and white people are all doing better on collective economics based solely off their hard work is much like Jay-Z's current Basquiat hairstyle, mostly cap.
Most important point for me is something you've already mentioned, is because the mythology of buying power has been used to convince poor black people that we're poor because of our own failures, our own inability to take advantage of the wonders that we have in terms of opportunity here in the United States. It's a narrative that's meant to blame poor people for being poor, and to say, black people, you have all this buying power, and if you would just have financial literacy and stop buying rims and hair and weed, you would be rich and you could invest and buy land and buy stock and this and that. And then when you look at the numbers, there's no land to buy, there's no stock to buy, there's no wealth creating assets to invest in. The only power we have is an organizational political power, revolutionary social movement power. And you don't need money for that. That's another part of the mythology. You just need commitment and a willingness to take risks and to support one another.
I'm just joking. I honestly think that his hair is real, but black buying power is mostly a myth. The trillions you've been hearing about since you were little gets eaten up by things like food, rent, mortgage, light bills, healthcare, etc. That $1 trillion isn't disposable income or wealth to invest in assets. It's bare necessities, and it's far less than what would be needed if we ever wanted to make a dent in lessening the wealth gap to the point where our financial status could ever think to affect public policy.
Yeah, and this is part of the myth, and it's like it's the realities of why most of us, even those of us that happen to be fortunate enough to be well educated, still live paycheck to paycheck, because it's very hard to fund a reasonable lifestyle, deal with all of whatever debts you may have accrued to this point. And my main point is to say that without true surplus income, you're in a difficult situation to actually generate financial leverage, right? So we don't often think about that. We say, why don't people just save and invest? And if they just did this or that, like he's talking about, but that's what people do with excess income above and beyond what they need from day to day. And if you don't make enough to do that, then those are not real options for you. Yeah, great discussion.
If you want the full details on this, you should check out Dr. Ball's book on the myth of black buying power. And for supplementary learning,
Slug,
check
appreciate
out
the reminder. Smash that like button, gang.
Doesn't actually work. But just understand, barring some reality-altering event, There is no way that black people can just catch up to white folks economically through sheer force of will. Even if we all pulled all our money together at one time, every time, it would not be enough to close that gap. And what this means is that to become rich and black, you have to get that money from white-ran industry. For example, let's take the Greenwood Bank that Killer Mike started a couple of years ago.
Co-founding the digital bank Greenwood with former Atlanta Mayor Andrew Young and Atlanta-based entrepreneur Ryan Glover, who serves as the bank's chairman. Glover
Black
says
faces.
the mission is to create more Black and Latinx wealth.
Marching is fine. The only way that we can move our culture forward,
I love it.
in my personal opinion, is through bank capital.
The black-owned bank, promoted by Killer Mike and some other black financial moguls, raised its first $40 million from Bank of America, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and it's financially backed by Coastal Community Bank, a traditionally white-owned investment bank with an all-white executive board. There is nothing really black-owned about this. It is black-ran, it is black-faced, but it is not black-owned. The people that actually control the money that's going in and out still have to answer to a completely white institution for what they want to do. Black people do not have the economic wealth to begin to ever make a dent in the wealth disparity to the point of promoting social change at a wide scale. This doesn't mean you shouldn't support black businesses and seek ways to contribute to the economic well-being of black people. But it does mean that we have to be more critical, or better yet, suspicious of anyone who promotes their business as some form of community project, or more importantly, give passes to rich black folks for anti-black and problematic behavior just because they're getting lots of money and sprinkling the appendix of it back to the community. The fact that this capitalist business venture is named after Greenwood and Tulsa is actually really appropriate. For those who don't know, in the early 1900s, the Greenwood community of Tulsa, Oklahoma emerged as a paragon of what black capitalism and black economic power could look like. It was an all-black, all-wealthy town, kinda.
So first of all, Tulsa, the Black Wall Street and associated stories are kept in prominence because they perpetuate the mythology of black capitalism, and that if we could just get over the more savage ravages of white supremacist vigilante violence, then capitalism will still solve your problems, black people included. So Tulsa's brought up, and they say black people built up this community, and it was only the white vigilante violence that destroyed it, and they were never able to recover. But that is entirely false history on a number of levels. Most of the people in Tulsa, most of the black people in Tulsa, Oklahoma, 95+% of them were poor laborers selling their labor like anywhere else to whomever would pay them. The only reason there was black business there in the first place was because that community was a subsidiary community to the broader white oil community. So as is the case even today with black businesses. And one of the favorite statistics that I discovered in some research I played only a small part in was that from 1992 to 2012, black people created more than 2 million businesses. But the capture of national sales revenue that they got totally went down from less than 1% to 0.3%. The point being, black business has ever only been a subsidiary of whatever white dominant industry funds it and supports it. And to the extent that today black businesses aren't connected to those larger industries, they can't expand, they can't grow, they can't become any bigger.
And so maybe it's not like the ideal we was all rich situation, but at least I imagine it was nicer and easier to work among all black people and not have to deal directly with racism, I assume. But sadly, we would never really know, because due to the savagery of white supremacy, a riot broke out in the Greenwood district that saw over 300 black residents murdered and hundreds more injured, with thousands of houses burned to the ground. It is the third deadliest riot in U.S. history, and the type of thing they won't teach you in Florida these days. Along with Tulsa, you have Rosewood, St. Louis, Atlanta,
Crazy.
Chicago. There were dozens of race riots of this same ilk from the end of slavery up until basically the 1960s, and if you account MOVE, 1980s. If I stop the story here, it kind of proves the point of a Killer Mike or a Jay-Z or Charlemagne the God. But that's not the whole story. The bigger story is actually more emblematic of the flaw of this logic in the first place. What people don't know about this story is that within years of the riots, they rebuilt Tulsa, Oklahoma. Within years, they rebuilt Greenwood to be better than it ever was. By the 1940s, it was a more wealthy town, still all black.
Right. So they destroy Black Wall Street. The poor whites, the white community in general supports this. They destroy the black community. But what is left out of the history is that the black people in that black community in Tulsa rebuilt Black Wall Street. And we became an even bigger economic business community by the 1940s, okay? For the black elite, not the black workers, but they had rebuilt for the black elite, was even doing better. But it wasn't until the mid-40s where the post-World War II expansion of U.S. hegemony here and abroad was taking place that the federal government came in, and they are the ones through public policy, not vigilante violence, destroyed Tulsa.
These black elites had the money. They bought the block, literally, but they still couldn't use that economic viability and political power to make the government build a highway a few blocks in the other directions. We do not have the power and do not own the means to production to dictate either government or economic policy to make the changes that Killer Mike and Jay-Z are promising you they'll make once they get another billion. And that's what the problem is to me really here. It's not that black people are making money, although like if you really care about black people and really...
There's another myth too here, which to me is like, I remember, there was a time I was, serious about music production and working with artists. And, one of the things that really played out in the economic landscape of these music artists is that a lot of them started their own companies and built their own studios, and they bought their own master recordings, or they own their own master recording, and that's enabled them to, become part of the owner class rather than just the artist class or whatever. But that's possible in particular sectors of society, right? But not necessarily in others. It might be one thing to build a studio now and make records that you own from start to finish, but, good luck working in a hospital, or real estate. There's just a lot of industries that just require a lot more capital and a lot more human resources to make that type of model even possible.
Really want to be for your people, there's only so rich you can actually get until you're just exploiting them or hoarding money for yourself. That's just the reality of the situation. But by presenting what they're doing as revolutionary, when you hear Jay-Z say capitalist is the new N-word, they just need to be smacked in the face. I'm sorry. This shit is silly.
And then when we start getting it, they try to lock us out of it. They start inventing words like, capitalist and, things like that. I mean, we've been called monkeys. I don't care. Those words y'all come up with, y'all got to come up with stronger words. Eat the rich and man, we're not stopping.
The math just does not math in this situation, and these rich Negroes know this. Hence why, instead of buying the Marcy projects with his billions setting up social services, healthcare, or grocer, whatever, Jay instead created a financial literacy class to teach people in the projects about Bitcoin. In 2022, this is in the middle of cryptocurrency collapsing and his biggest stars going to jail. That is what Jay-Z gave back to the hood. Most of these uber-rich black folks, from Puffy to Kanye to Rihanna to Jay-Z, got their money by partnering with massive white corporations, and they were only able to do this by leveraging their connection to black culture. They only got rich off their connections to us. This is a microcosm of how black capitalism really works. It's not designed to empower and liberate all black people. At best, it will be an avenue to allow for a few talented black people, that talented 10th, to get money, often off the backs of other black folks, and telling them that they know what's best for them and that they're acting in their best interest and not in the best interest of capitalism. This is an example of what's called the professional managerial class, which comes from a paper from Barbara and John Eyrick.
But because in America we still talk about race and class as though they're coterminous, as though they're the exact same thing, there is a way that they are invited, members of the PMC, of which I am, and you are, given your educational background, are often invited to speak for and to the interests of the rest of Black people and determine the political trajectory and priorities of the bulk of Black people, despite not actually having an identity of interest in terms of class. And that's where you get PMCs basically saying, well, Black people will be happy with Joe Biden as long as he picks a Black VP. That's the real priority. That's what really Black people want is Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
and
that
then you can
shit
forget
pissed
the
me
George
off.
Floyd Justice Policing Act. You can forget student debt cancellation. You can forget the $2,000 checks. You can forget everything that you ever promised. You can forget
give us Kamala
us living in these frontline communities and all of the environmental harms that we take on first. As long as we've got Kamala Harris and her Chucks and Pearls and the AKAs doing their thing in the White House, we as Black people are happy. And obviously that's not how the majority of Black people feel.
Right. How the Black professional managerial class or oftentimes works within concert of what is called the Black political class to create a kind of, a fancy word is ideological superstructure or worldview, if you will, of Black politics and Black social life, because they control most of the institutions being the churches, the historically Black colleges and universities, the fraternities and sororities and secret societies that organize as the foot soldiers in terms of get out the vote campaigns for the Black community, that perpetuate this kind of worldview of a top-down analysis of what Black politics and Black quote-unquote, the hierarchy of Black political aspirations should be, is the kind of Bookerite notion of Black politics. Well, I mean Booker, I mean Booker T. Washington, that you have this quote-unquote Black leader or collective of Black leaders who represent this undemocratic mass that has no spokesman role, no actual role in determining their efforts. But what ends up happening is that the nature of Black political activity represents the aspirations of that professional managerial class of brokers, as opposed to the actual needs of the majority of Black people.
I just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they call
That was so good. That was so good. Also, I think I know which Malcolm clip is. I'm going to let this play too.
leaders. This included Lena Horne. This included Dick Gregory. And this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players.
Black PMCs are complex because the intersection of Blackness and the desire for Black people with access and resources to give back to the community makes identifying these problems harder and more complex. I know a lot of well-off middle and upper class Black folk who volunteer, donate, or even run nonprofits, and that's great. The concern comes up in what type of political projects do they support on the side. I am not against Black success or high achievement. For those of you like myself who had opportunities for education or dope business ethic or are just talented or lucky, I do not expect a desire that you eschew the rewards of your hard work or your blessings. However, we need to create a new standard around what this looks like and definitely develop a greater analysis of how class and race affect Black people, and mostly stop cosplaying as revolutionaries when at most it's just a few niggas getting money. I am a well-educated HBCU graduate in Atlanta. We are literally the definition of the Black bourgeoisie here. And I hear some of the most anti-Black shit come out of the mouths of people that purport to be pro-Black all the time because they think that they're different than their poor counterparts that live in certain parts of the city.
This is a class project. You know, I don't usually use the term quote unquote anti-Blackness because these people love being Black. They just love being a certain type of Black person. What they don't like is poor people. and they dislike poor Black people, and they dislike poor Black people because they are poor. And what you have to understand is that this is not necessarily just some kind of aberration that exists amongst educated, professional, managerial Black people. This has been an institutional view of upper middle class and middle class Blacks that has been weaponized in organizations going back to the early Urban League. And this is all part of the notion that like these people are a problem. They are not like us. I don't know if you've ever watched the very, very interesting video. It's of upper middle class Black folk in Los Angeles in 1960 in LA talking about the incoming wave of Blacks coming from the South to LA. And these folks, literally, you would think you were talking to like white property owners about how they're worried that these Black people are going to come in and mess things up for them. These are Black.
You know that, and you know right there, y'all. That's Uncle Bobby's test for how do you identify a coon. You close your eyes and you listen, or you put the words on paper and you read the script, and then you ask yourself, was this said by a Black person or a racist-ass bigot? And if it's some shit like, yeah, we're worried about all these Black people coming in and what it's going to do to the property value or whatever the fuck the excuses are, you'd be like, oh, yeah, that was definitely some racist-ass fucking white people. And you open your eyes and it's a Black person. Well, there it is. That's the problem.
You recall in our last meeting, we discussed the problem of integrated housing, and we found out that almost 1,700 Negroes are moving into Los Angeles a month. By 1970, there'll probably be 1 million Negroes in this city. And I know that people are concerned about this. They may not talk about it very often, but I certainly heard them shudder in church.
In essence, the majority of these people are not like we are. And we felt that maybe some of us felt we left the South because we were getting away from this problem. We are a part of this exodus.
Oh, my goodness.
But we are a little maybe embarrassed by the fact that here we're going to have a mass element come in that's going to create a tremendous social problem in the community to which we find a great deal of difficulty in relating to.
But here's the thing.
Dancing for them butter biscuits.
At the end of the day, Jay-Z isn't the real problem. He and others are just useful examples of how this works. The real problem is how this same dishonest and exploitative practice is replicated in our politics, more explicitly with Black people in the Democratic Party. I want to again be clear that I am not insinuating that my criticism of the Democratic Party is an endorsement of the far, far worse Republican Party. But we have to start addressing how the Democratic Party is constantly working against the best interest of Black people while playing in our faces as if they don't. In reality, what people like a Jim Clyburn, Kamala Harris, Barack Obama represent is the shining Black face serving as proof that capitalism actually works, that it can work for you too. They are positioned to represent us, represent the culture, and take seats at the table to make sure our voices are heard. But at the end of the day, far too many of these individuals are co-opted, and even those with allegedly good intentions end up having to fold under the pressure. See, for example, the railroad strike in the winter of 2022, where Democrats, even far left Democrats, voted to support corporations over workers fighting for better pay.
Black people are just people like everybody else who are propagandized and told by our political leaders, including Black ones who are deeply corrupt. Some of the most corrupt politicians in Washington are Black, and not because they're Black, but for very specific structural reasons. Again, Black districts are poorer. Black representatives have a harder time raising money. They can't go to their parents' golf club and raise money the same way that so many white politicians do that come from wealth. So where do they go? They can't go to the community. They have to go to corporations. So they take more corporate money and end up being more corrupt in the policies that they can support than white politicians. And that's how you get someone like Jim Clyburn, who comes from a dirt poor district in South Carolina, never accountable to his actual constituents, takes more money from the pharmaceutical company than anybody else in Congress, and uses his authority and standing in the Democratic Party to do things like throw the 2020 race for Joe Biden, who has done nothing but crap on Black people.
The PMCs that really affect black folks are local politicians who partner with large corporations and police to sell out their black constituents. But because they look like us, or better yet, they look like the version of us that we desire to be the most, and they talk a good game, they get away with it far too often. And even saying get away with it might be the wrong words. Because what I realized, having been on both sides of this, is that there are a lot of black bourgeoisie people that really don't see how harmful some of this stuff is until it's too late. They truly think that the system works if you play it right, and that nobody is losing as they're winning. They fell for the same trick, and they're just repeating it back to us. While I know this video took some shots at some big figures, I empathize with why many of us find ourselves falling for this nonsense. Because a lot of effort has been put into setting us up for it. So more than anything, I don't want you to cancel anyone or drop out of college or throw away your Jay-Z CDs. I want people to rearrange their perspective, to at least be aware of how this conservatism, including the Democratic Party, continues to work, even on folks we think are acting in our best interests. To not be pick-me's to this system, thinking that the system is going to save us, because it's not.
Back during slavery, when black people like me talked to the slaves, they didn't kill him. They sent some old house Negro along behind him to undo what he said. You have to read the history of slavery to understand this. There were two kinds of Negroes. There was that old house Negro and the field Negro. And the house Negro always looked out for his master. When the field Negroes got too much out of line, he held them back in check. He put them back on the plantation. The house Negro could afford to do that because he lived better than the field Negro. He ate better, he dressed better, and he lived in a better house. He lived right up next to his master in the attic or the basement. He ate the same food his master ate and wore his same clothes. And he could talk just like his master, good diction. And he loved his master more than his master loved himself. That's why he didn't want his master hurt. If the master got sick, he'd say, "What's the matter, boss? We sick?"
What's the matter with boss?
He'd try and put the fire out. He didn't want his master's house burned. He never wanted his master's property threatened. And he was more defensive of it than the master was. That was the house Negro. But then you had some field Negroes who lived in huts, had nothing to lose. They wore the worst kind of clothes, they ate the worst food, and they caught hell. They felt the sting of the lash. They hated their master. Oh, yes, they did. If the master got sick, they prayed that the master died. If the master's house caught a fire, they prayed for a strong wind to come along.
Let's go.
This was the difference between the two. And today you still have house Negroes and field Negroes.
Here in Atlanta, where I live, you can see a different type of pick-me behavior coming together in one perfect example of how black conservatives are setting themselves and us up for the okie doke. Back in 2020, a week after the George Floyd protests broke out, Rayshard Brooks, another unarmed black man, was killed by a police officer, shot in the back while fleeing only a few feet from where I'm standing right now. A day later, unrest broke out, and in the process, they burned the Wendy's that used to be here to the ground. I genuinely do not agree with rioting and the destruction of property, nor am I advocating for it, especially since this destruction almost always seems to happen in black communities, and it's almost always white people lighting the matches. That said, the riot is the voice of the unheard, especially for people who lack real political power and where the people with power are not listening. The mayor at the time seemed to know this, and to her credit, she mostly took the side of the people as much as any politician might in the moment. But this had a ripple effect. The police retaliated by catching the blue flu and calling in sick and slacking on their jobs.
Wow.
And at the same time, there was a rise in violent crime in Atlanta, which actually coincided with the rise in violent crime across the country during COVID. But still, this rise in crime was erroneously attributed to the lack of police, an old trick that black folks have been falling for since 1994. And I've said this in other videos, but I need it not to be lost on us that for all the smoke we give Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton for the '94 crime bill, that bill was supported by tons of black people arguably black conservatives who believe the lie that more police and tougher on-crime policies would help black people.
That's right.
Now today, everybody seems to understand that that's not how this works. Yet, once again, we are here
we did the
preparing
same
to
thing
make a
again.
similar
We did the
mistake
same shit again.
in Black Mecca,
We did the same
in
shit again.
Wakanda.
Even in response to all that George Floyd shit, man, what was on the ballot on most states? I live in Michigan. It was definitely on the ballot here. What? It was new public funding for fucking security complexes, which in most states includes police funding. We did not defund the police. We fucking refunded the police. We increased the funding. Of course. That's all we ever do. All we did was have a conversation. What? We should just fund other programs and, not ask the police to do shit. Yeah, we could. We could. Nah.
Home of the brave, the city too busy to hate. In this predominantly black-run city that hasn't had a white mayor since the 70s, deals were struck with Atlanta's predominantly black city council, along with numerous corporations, Atlanta's new black mayor, and the police to greenlight a $90 million police training facility, with $60 million of this dollars coming from corporate sponsors and the other $30 million coming from taxpayers who do not
I'd be
want
down
this
to do
project.
that, Mojo.
The plans for this facility look like something out of Judge Dredd. It is a total escalation of militarizing the police, complete with multiple firing ranges, helicopter pads, a mock city for them to practice urban warfare. Is right outside a working class black facility and being done in a forest that is called one of Atlanta's lungs. It is a deeply unpopular project that more than 70% of Atlanta's citizens are against, but it is the baby of Atlanta's corporate interests and Atlanta's political elite, many of whom consider themselves black Democrats. As attention and resistance to this project has risen, Atlanta's black mayor and black elite have tried their hardest to sell it to their own people as better police training and new job opportunities. And to their credit, most of the people of Atlanta are not hearing it. They understand that the allowance of this type of facility is like pouring gasoline on a fire trying to put it out. But still, when you look at the black people who support it, they tend to be of that talented 10th population. If you are watching this outside of Atlanta and you think this doesn't affect you, understand that this facility is going to only be half full of Atlanta police. The other half will be coming from a city near you. That is until they make their own facility, complete with tanks or tactical gear and all the other things that social public servants definitely need. But black conservatives, this time the ones who call themselves Democrats, do not see this. They think they'll be the good ones. They think they'll be exempt. They think that their money and degrees and connections will protect them. They trust the system because to some extent, the system has been good to them. And they're blatantly ignoring history and all of the giant red flags that should tell them that they are not safe. Understand that at the end of the day, this video is just another form of entertainment news. It's just the type of info and news information that often doesn't make it out of YouTube, if it makes it on YouTube at all. This video is not activism, and you are not resisting just by watching it. This video is also not a call for you to drop out of college or sell off your houses or never listen to Jay-Z again. I'm not calling for dramatic action on your behalf because it's not absolutely necessary. Videos like this can sometimes come off as being very negative and hopeless, but the reality is we have a lot to be hopeful about. There are things you can do right now to help address the problems that I spent the last hour and some change talking about. First and foremost, open yourself up to learning more about leftist ideology, read up on the history of all the figures I've talked about, read up on the actual history of Pan-Africanism and leftist black movements from years ago, dig deeper into this information that has been hidden. In doing that and spreading that message, you're actually contributing a lot more than you think. Just a couple of weeks ago, Chicago, the third largest city in the United States, a city that is notorious for corrupt Democrat-ran politics, elected an outright socialist mayor,
That's
a
crazy.
former leader of their teacher union. And of course, the police started getting angry as soon as that happened. And I don't think that would have happened if not for the fact that the idea of socialism has become more prominent in old and young millennials.
Like let's
and
become
Gen Zs.
socialists. Like,
For
what
those
the
of you
fuck?
still very much interested and wedded to electoral politics, that is an example of a long-term resolution that we all could be pursuing. That said, for those of you not interested in electoral politics, you can be doing stuff right now as well. You can be donating to local leftist initiatives. I guarantee you that no matter where you are, there is a leftist organization near you that could use your help or your money. And when you get there, please understand you are getting there to support and learn. There are people that have probably been doing that work for a long time that already have things set up. They don't need you to come in there and save them and take over. They just need you to support and hopefully cut a check. If you look at what's happening in Atlanta right now, this is one of the most galvanizing events in terms of leftist action across the country and probably since Occupy Wall Street. So if you want to help stop Atlanta's Cop City, please check out the description. If you have leftist organizations or resources that you want to be shared in this video, put that in the comments section and I'll update the description as much as possible with ways that people can get involved. We have to recognize that there are explicit ways that we can actually address these issues. You just have to shed the false veneer that all of Black political thought exists within the Democratic Party, or if you're stupid, some parts of the Republican Party, and start to re-engage with the traditions of Black leftist political movements, the type of movements that have always worked for us in the past. The phrase power to the people is not just a cool slogan. It is a reminder of what is possible when Black folks get organized, and when Black folks get organized around class and race with like-minded people across the country. You don't have to hit the streets with the Antifa mask on. You don't have to pick up some bricks. All you have to do is get involved, educate yourself, and spread the word. I promise you, if you're paying attention, you know that all of these things are quite possible. Beyond that, I don't got much else to say. Thank you all for watching. That's all I got for today.
Get ready for the next.
All right, gang, that was some radical shit, man. And I think I like the fact that it ended with the actionable items that all of us can definitely think about. Especially important out here is spreading the word. And that's what it's intended to do too, because like I think that we're getting better armed to be truly anti-racist, because it is at the end of the day about addressing institutional power, and you can't do that when you don't see it. So it's really hard for people sometimes because they'll see, you know, two Black people having a discussion and think that, oh shit, I don't know what to do. Oh, my system's going haywire, because, you know, you want to give space to both perspectives. And it's like, no, you have to see what they're saying. And if one is clearly being more progressive than the other, then it's really about going with what's better for the people. And that's the problem sometimes with conservative Black people, especially sometimes because they don't see it. Like, not only is there the whole, oh, the system's kind of good for them type deal, but there's also that kind of reward for appearing more open-minded to the perspectives that are on the status quo, because that's going to make up the majority of your environment. And so there's going to be an incentive there to feed into those narratives. So, you know, it's helpful. It reminds me of like having some of my conversations with Veckel, because it was like, oh, I would love, because you know, like Freeman and all them are like using him as like, the dog whistling we're doing is cool because this dude said we could do it. And I'm like, yeah, let me have a conversation with him. I'm sure he'll recognize the issue, and of course he did. But you know, we just got to stay woke, y'all. I don't know what else to say. Look. This has been fun. I'm glad we rode on through and finished that up with the you know, because that was a long video we did, but I really appreciated that series, and thanks again to Maya for pointing them out for me. Thanks to the gang for being here and gathered. Please come join us, because I think the game plan at this point is I'm gonna get some food. We're going to get ready to relax and watch the game. And then the plan is after that, for the late night session, that we're going to watch that James Tor versus Professor Dave debate so that we can get ready for the review tomorrow with Bree and Aron Ra. So do come link up with the gang and gather. Punk, appreciate you. Thanks so much, everybody. This was a fun one. And yeah, we'll catch you next time. Appreciate you, gang. Set 'em gone.
Zach, why she wanna leave me alone? Saying all I do is wrong. No rights when they been left turns. Playing that she gotta let it burn. Saying that the hell's not a home. Sunshine cause you heard it all before. Sometimes she don't wanna be alone. Most times she don't want me gone. She don't know I try my all. She don't know I sprung in the sun, but I'm going in the winter, so we good to the fall. Remember how I told you I get it and I win. Now I'm got it, you ain't answer my call. Wonder if I've been moving too strong. Maybe I just been moving too boss. Really hate when the feeling get lost. Nowadays she just dodge my calls. In the game throwing laws like Paul. Young legend Miss John like Wall. And I wish you never met like Call. Dick game lay it down like law. Made plans but you canceled them all. I was just trying to splurge in the mall. Now I'm home stacking bread till you call. It's time to roll. She tryna slide. We smoking Zah. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl. It's time to roll. She tryna ride. We smoking. Stop acting shy. Cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl.
Be smoking that side. I'm trying to get high. She said that she not ready for lust. I waste my time. I got demons in my closet. I can't hide. I did all my exes wrong. They wish I died. Damn, I tried. They won't believe me when I say this. Oh my God, what a blessing. Hello Phoenix, that's my twin. I told these hoes they won't get my heart again, not again. Cause they were missing when I needed just a friend.
They were missing, yeah, they always missing. They don't want no smoke, they hit the blunt and started tripping.